Welcome to the Born to Be Brave YouTube channel, and I am thrilled to have our guest Judah DeVilbiss on the show today, and for you guys to learn from him. You got to pay attention because I was so impressed. What happens is how I pick my guest is I see something and I'm like, oh, that person is so cool. I want to interview them and share them with you. So, um, Judah is an entrepreneur, business owner, and visionary investor, and then you are a partner in Everbridge, right?
Yeah, so there's four of us involved in Everbridge. It's Darren Yee, he's our CIO, Ryan McDermott, CEO, and then we have Russell Digert, who's our CLO.
And what is Everbridge?
So Everbridge is a short-term exit-based lending company. So we focus on bridge loan products for business acquisitions.
Yeah. So what is cool is because I think Kevin Cho, I've interviewed Kevin a lot,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
you're one of his lenders. That's how I found you. And Kevin is my friend. Like he spent the night here. He sat here and been, interviewed. And anyway, he told me you're awesome, and he just finished paying you off on his last private money deal with you. And when someone wants to buy a business, because it sounds like you focus on lending for businesses, right?
Yep.
And let's say, oh, I want to buy a laundromat or I want to buy a self-storage or a car wash or a dry cleaners or whatever business it is, right? Um, and then it's like, oh, but I don't have the money. And they can call you. What are you looking for? What makes you decide, oh, they're a good bet. Let me lend to them. Like, how do you decide who you lend money to and who you don't?
So such a great question. That's actually, I mean, that's what we do, right? Is we're really looking at the overall picture and the health of every business that we're taking on. So for us, a lot of it will go into the background of the borrower, right? We do want to know that they have a healthy track record. There's no background of felonies, bankruptcies, things of that nature. They've got a good credit score. Those are really what we're looking for on the backside. And then really from there, it's the health of the business, right? So if I get a business put in front of me, I'm going to underwrite it, we're going to evaluate it and look at it and really dig into the P&Ls, the tax returns and the numbers and see what does this business look like and really focus on the growth. Has it been consistent? Has it been growing? If it's on a downward trend, those are typically ones we'll kind of stay away from because those are great opportunities. I like to say those are great opportunities for the Subto, the seller finance, because you can create value by bringing expertise to a company that's on the way down. For us at Everbridge, we're really focused on businesses that are going to put borrowers in such a great position when they go into them, right? We want people to walk into cash flow day one and walk into something that they either have experience in or that they're walking into and it's humming, right? It's moving along. So that's really our main focus when we look at these acquisitions.
So your ideal client is looking to purchase a business that is successful, positive cash flow, and doing well, and has a good track record.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's the ultimate goal, right? We want to put our borrowers into positions where it's a plug and play, right? They're going to have to go in and work on the business to an extent, right? And get to know the systems and processes and staff. But really, we want people to walk into something that is not going to take everything out of their day to get it fixed. So,
You want a well-oiled machine.
yes, yes. Yeah.
And then I know, do you underwrite too? Because I know Darren does.
Yeah, yeah. So Darren and I kind of go hand in hand. So I'm kind of our initial point of contact when people reach out to us at Everbridge. I'm the one that gets to see all the initial stuff. So I get to look at it, go, nope, not that one. And then, or yes, this one. And then once I get it, I'll underwrite it. And Darren and I are pretty much on a very similar page. There might be a few things. The dude he's a genius. So I learn a lot from him as well. So there's times where I'll bring him stuff and I see it and I'm like, I like this. We'll dig through it together. And he goes, oh, ask about this. Let's change this. Let's fix this. Or we'll both agree on it. And then once it green lights to him, what's cool about our product is so we're an exit-based lender and we exit into an SBA refinance. So our goal is to come in, bring liquidity for borrowers. So we bring up to 100% of the financing for our borrowers. And then what we do is we bridge them over into an SBA loan in the next 4 to 6 months. So
Oh,
that's really what we have a great relationship with an SBA lender where we make sure that the business is pre-qualified not only by us, but also that SBA lender. So one, it ensures we have that exit in place and ready to go when we go finance this acquisition for a borrower.
that's so smart. So you already have an exit strategy for them to make sure you
Yep.
get your money back.
Yeah, yeah. So there's a lot of risk mitigation that goes into what we do. There's a lot of due diligence on our side, right? On the borrower, the business, ensuring that exits in place, especially because people that come in and lend with us, we want to protect them as well. So if we protect that front side, the back side is it's for sure got something that we can exit and ensure that our lenders are getting paid back as well.
So what happens is you also partner with people. So you have people
Hmm.
that come in and are wanting to buy a business and they check in with you. I'm just understanding the process. And
Yeah.
you kind of like the gatekeeper and you kind of like do a quick evaluation underwriting on their business and to see the one they're thinking about purchasing to see
Yep.
if it fits your profile, right? And your criteria, your buy box, right? Your lending
Yep.
box, right? I guess. And then, because I'm trying to understand this, right? And then what happens is then you and Darren dig into it deeper. You check with the small business lender to see if it's something that they would buy later, right?
Yep.
And fund later, right? Not buy, but to help,
Refinance. Yep.
transition, refinance. Thank you. Yeah, see if I'm
Yeah.
learning all the stuff. And then this is why I was so fascinated. I'm like, oh, I want to know what he does. This is so cool. And so then you have other people who have money and they loan you money to finance the deals. Is that correct?
Yeah, so that's those are
Partners.
called our participants, our co-lenders. They come in and they co-lend on these acquisitions with us, right? And what's cool about our product, again, there's no sort of theoretical on our exit, right? It's
Mhm.
already pre-planned. It's already a lot of that, again, that risk mitigation. And it's not like lending on real estate, right? And there's nothing bad about lending on real estate. That's I've been doing it for over a year now,
Yeah.
on that world as well. But it's a lot of what ifs and when it all happens, right? As long as it doesn't go over budget, as long as it sells on the market, as long as it's not overpriced, whatever it may be. For us, we're walking into these businesses that are already cash flowing. So what's cool is our co-lenders actually make money monthly. So they're getting their returns paid back each month to them while that capital is active with us, and then they can then return, roll it over into a new deal, whatever it may be. But yeah, so we'll go out and get other lenders to come in with us. And what's cool is because we take first position on these acquisitions, we clear off any debts, anything like that. We put a UCC filing one on the business as well. And because these lenders are coming in with us, they're pari passu to us. So they're in line with where we come in at, and they maintain that first position as well, which is something you don't see a lot of, on the real estate side.
Yeah, it's a lot riskier, a lot more
Yeah.
factors that come into play. And then, so for people like me who don't, I'm very interested in buying businesses, right? It's something that I'm learning about because
Yeah.
I come from real estate, but I'm very interested in buying businesses. And so the when you said you file what was it that you file on it on the business?
It it's a UCC one.
And
So
what does
it,
that
it
mean for
puts
people
us
like
in
me?
people in the real estate world. That just gives us first position, right?
Okay.
So we're the only loan on that acquisition at that point, where then that way, if something happens, we have to, foreclose on it, we have to then go sell it on the market, whatever it is, we have full
Control.
control over that. Yeah.
Yeah, I like this. This is
So
sounding very, very interesting. Okay, and so then you're saying also because there's also an opportunity in your business for people to make money to be your partners, your lending partners, right?
hmm
Capital
hmm
partners, is that right?
yeah, so
And
they get to be participants in our loans with us. Yep.
mhm. And they get paid monthly.
Yep. So the returns come back monthly. And
Hmm.
we have a couple different programs where they can come in on 6 month, 12 months, or just per acquisition. It really just depends kind of what their appetite is for the lending side of stuff. But we do a lot of that heavy lifting, which is really cool, right? They're not going and trying to figure out how to underwrite this house and
Hmm.
do the comps on it and all this other stuff. taking a lot of that onto our plate on our due diligence.
Yeah, I love that, Judah, because you're giving them a passive income vehicle. You're doing the active work. You and Everbridge are doing the active investing. You're actually doing all the work on that, and then they just have to bring their money and they're making money passively,
Yeah.
right? Is
Yeah.
that
So
correct?
again, yep, we do a lot of that back end work. And then what's cool is there's our communication to our lenders as well is very open. We'll give updates on a monthly basis. If there's questions, they can always reach out to us. But again, it's really streamlined where it's an open book for us, which allows a lot of trust for lenders to come in with us as well.
I love this. And then is there any kind of businesses that you see trending or that are doing well or that you love to focus on or it doesn't matter? I don't know.
It's so there's a couple answers to that question. So realistically, what is your buy box, right? What's your superpower in a business, right? I always tell people, if you're a construction guy, you're not going to come and bring me an e-com business, right? Because more than likely you don't know how to make that thing hum, right? Now, if you have a partner that does, that's a different equation, right? So really it's more so on the borrowers to decide what is your buy box, what fits you, what's going to be that superpower for you to come in and take on that acquisition. And then outside of that, what we lend on, it's you're gonna laugh because a little bit of background about me. I actually own a couple of restaurants out here in Idaho, so we have some drive-through pizza places. But what's funny is we won't lend on restaurants, so we won't do restaurants, we won't do hotels, solar. We'll stay away from anything that's solar related. Bars. So again, it's for us, it's more about the risk mitigation, right? We want businesses that we know are going to be around for a little bit. So home services, obviously, that's always a big thing for people. E-com's great if you've got that background and you've got the understanding of that. But what's cool is we have a whole business, a granite countertop place, automotive place that we funded, a cabinet company, an e-com store. So it's really for us, FedEx routes. I mean, really, if it's healthy, that's where we're focused on. And as long as there's a borrower that's in a really good position to understand that acquisition as well.
I love that. That's
Yeah.
good. Yeah. What made you get into this type of a business?
So what's funny is so Ryan and Darren are the ones who actually created this whole thesis around Everbridge. So I mean, really the hats off to them because they're the ones that were like, okay, there's a gap in this marketplace that we can fix, and here's how we can do it. I actually got brought in with them probably, I don't know, 6, 7 months after they had really created this. And I came in as our business development. I do a lot of our loan brokering for the acquisitions and things of that nature. But they're the ones that created this. And what's so powerful is you talk about zero down inside Subto, right? Is it
Mhm.
kind of started and then it never really went anywhere. Well, we're basically the definition of zero down. That's what's so cool about our product is you can come in, we can fund up to 100% of these acquisitions for you with little to no money out of pocket for you. So it's a really cool product. Plus, you're being competitive in this market, right? Because you've got so many people, right? Cody Sanchez, Carl Allen, Pace is talking about buying businesses, right? And he's been
Mhm.
doing it. But you have all these people that are going after that now, right? It's like that new gold rush where now you've got ammo with us, right? You can come in and really, one, we help with the underwriting, right? We're doing a lot of that due diligence and helping you understand, hey, this is why this doesn't work, or yes, this does work. And then helping guide that, walking through the due diligence. We do a lot of white glove service through our process as well. And what's cool is we can fund really quick. So instead of going SBA and taking 4 to 6 months, 3 to 6 months to get an acquisition done, we can close stuff. I mean, typically from start to finish in 60 days or so, sometimes quicker. It really just depends on how fast the documents and everything come into us. But that's again what makes us so powerful is you're not trying to go out and do, hey, let me bring in 10% down to you, 20% down and create a seller finance note and this and that. A lot of these owners that are in this world, they want out, right? They're ready to be done and move on. They don't have anyone else to hand the reins over to. And with our product, that really allows them to do that. So it's a win-win all around, right? It's a win for the borrower because they're getting this capital right up front to close on these acquisition. It's a win for our lenders because there it streamlines their process, and then it's a win for the sellers because they're getting what they want and they're moving on with their life and being able to go, move on to that next stage for them. So just overall, it helps everyone. It's a big circle of life.
It's beautiful. This is so good. I'm so glad. It's interesting because Pace Morby asked me to go all in. He wants all of us to go all in on our YouTube channels.
Yeah, yeah,
And I interviewed him, and then I've been in, just a voice in my head because I see something online and on my social media, and I'm like, oh, I would love to interview that person. And I'm so glad that I'm following through and listening to that voice and just like reaching out to people I don't know,
yeah.
right? Like I didn't know you, and just like, hey, I would love to learn about what you do, right? Like it's
Yeah.
fascinating to me. And then I love that instead of just hopping on a phone call, I'm doing it on my YouTube channel. So one, I can go back and listen, but then also anybody who is thinking, oh, I would love to buy a business, right? But I don't know how I'm going to fund it. I love the name of the company and the bridge, right? It's the bridge going
Yeah.
over an Everbridge, and like I'm totally getting it now that we're talking, right? The symbolism of it, which is
Right.
which is fantastic. But I just love that when we start listening to the voice in our head that is like calling us to do something, because I'm very interested, of course, because of Cody Sanchez's book and hearing her speak at Squad Up Summit last year and at
Yeah.
Clever Investor. I think she spoke anyway, or Clever Summit, whatever it was. But anyway, it's interesting because do you feel like a lot of these businesses, because the one thing I would think is people might lie or fudge or inflate their numbers or on their books and are you guys able to like see through some of that stuff?
That's where that underwriting comes in, right? So initial pass for us is looking at, the past 3 years of these financials. We want to see P&Ls and balance sheets. We want to see tax returns, right? Typically, if you see a P&L that doesn't match to that tax return, the
Mhm.
rest of that business is more than likely going to be fairly messy. And so those are ones that we won't really mess with. Again, the cleaner that business, right? It's very transparent to see when you're looking through a lot of this. And then we go in even further. I mean, that's just at a first initial pass. Once we go into due diligence, where Darren and I go, okay, we like this deal, we're going to go SBA. We get the pre-approval through our partnership with the SBA lender that we have. Then we go full force into due diligence, and our due diligence list is not small. I mean, it's 2 pages long. It's a lot of work for our borrowers to go out, but we help guide that too. But that allows us to really dig into that business, and find out, are there liens on this business? Are there anything we need to watch out for? Are there any lawsuits happening? Things of that nature. Just again, protection. It's to protect the borrower. It's to protect our lenders, to protect us. Um, and then going through bank statements, right? Are they what's showing on the P&L and the tax returns? Is that accurate? Is that what's actually flowing through the business? So again, it's very strict and very precise on what we do.
I love that. Like if I was a borrower, I would be like so happy that you guys are like this extra layer of protection, right?
Yeah,
Because even when I bought my first Subto deal, creative finance deal, I had three sets of eyes look at it first, underwriting people, Jason Park and that whole team and just other people look at it and just make sure, right? My husband's really good with numbers
yeah,
and just to make sure like other people are like, yes, this is a good investment because
yeah,
I don't want to emotionally be buying something because I'm attached to it, right?
right.
And then find out down the road, oh crap, I wish I would have structured it different. I mean, of course that can happen still, but I'm just saying it's so nice to have other sets of eyes on a deal, right?
Yeah, yeah, 100%. That's part of that due diligence, portion where for us too, like I've had a couple, I would say I even call them, would call them friends at this point because that we've met through, the community and stuff like that. But they've super excited about this deal, and I'll look at it and I'll go, nope, this one is not good. Next one, And then we've even got close where I'm like, this one looks good. And then we find some stuff on the backside, and our SBA lender doesn't like it, and we have to go, hey, this one always it's this one's not going to work either. And so there you run across those situations, and those are tougher conversations to have because people get so excited, right? And you kind of have to walk them through and explain, here's why. This is why this, doesn't work, or here's the reason, that we need to keep looking. Because again, it's we want to put these borrowers into the best positions possible and not just settle, right? Because and this isn't a jab at SBA by any means, but SBA will fund at a very low debt service cover ratio. Typically, it's like a 1.25.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a lot of cash flow. That's not a lot of money, coming to your pocket. So that just shows you there's not for us. We need a much higher DSCR that we require. So typically we want to see like a 1.75 on our side. And what's cool is not only do we bring 100% of that acquisition cost, we're building in working capital as well. Again, protecting these borrowers, ensuring that they have some capital to utilize over the next couple months to really get their feet, under them as they're gaining traction on this acquisition and rolling over from previous owner to them. So
That's smart because they said one of the reasons that most businesses go under is they don't have enough capital in reserve to keep going.
yep, yep.
What else do I need to know about what you do? Is there what because
uh,
I don't know that much about it. Do you know what I'm saying? So what else
Honestly,
do you
the
do?
people ask that all the time, and I always try to say the simplest thing for you to understand realistically right now is we're 100% up to 100% bridge loan company. So that's all you really got to focus on because we're doing a lot of that back end for you, right? And what's cool too is not only that, but every Monday, Darren and I do an underwriting Zoom.
Oh,
Darren takes the reins on that one, most of the time, but we'll run people through that show up on those Zooms. It's at 9 a.m. Pacific time every Monday. We meet, we go through either an acquisition that, we're looking at funding or that is a bad deal. And we're walking through a lot of those numbers, the P&Ls, the balance sheets. What does that mean? What does that look like? How do you cross-reference them? And then on Fridays, we do at 3:30 p.m. We do a co-lending how to lend on short-term bridge loans with us. So we'll cover a lot of that stuff, and those are great opportunities for people that have questions to really come in with us and go, okay, I have a list of items that I need to ask you. What's this? How does that work? And on either side, whether you're lending with us
mm-hmm.
or you're wanting to be a borrower, we can help really streamline that process for people.
Oh, I love that. I'm so grateful you shared that. Yeah, because I feel like there's two types of personalities like for investing well really I feel like there's three. That's just my opinion. There's people who want to
Yeah,
act the active, people who are more of a risk taker and they're active, active in the business. There's passive investors. They're just like, hey, I have this extra cash, I want to put it in, I want someone I can trust to handle it. And then there's the people who are think that they don't want to do any risk, but they're not. They're the biggest risk is they're not doing anything, and so they're just
yeah,
gonna they're getting the lowest return. Do you know what I'm saying?
yeah, 100%.
Yeah, they think they're not taking a risk, but I think they're the highest risk group because they're not doing anything, right?
Yeah. Everything is a risk when well, I mean, as you know, I mean, when you're lending money in general, it's there's always risk involved, right? There's just some things that may have less risk to it. So,
Yeah. Yeah, there's always a risk, right? We woke up
yeah.
today. I mean, I'm going to Disneyland. It's Wednesday. I go every Wednesday to Disneyland for a couple hours and ride a few rides. And I mean, anything could happen anywhere, right? Like
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
yeah, that's fun. Then what was I going to tell you? Like, if I don't know how old you are, you don't need to tell us how old you are, but I'm just saying, what would you tell your younger self? You seem young to me. See, I'm really getting older, and so everyone looks really young to me. So it's like you might be like I don't know how old you are, but like what do you wish you would have done, maybe 5, 10, 15 years ago, started sooner? What would you tell your younger self or somebody listening going, "Oh, I'm in my W-2 or I'm in college or I didn't go to college or I'm in a trade school. I don't know what to do or I'm in the trades. Like what would you tell your younger self or that person?
Ooh, ah, man, there's so many things that I would probably tell myself and so many mistakes that I made. So I guess to give you a little bit of background about me, I started my entrepreneur journey 13 years ago with my very first business. Went from oil field into my very first business that we opened, didn't know a thing about it, got into that, ran it for 7 years. And then after that, we opened up our restaurants, didn't know a thing about restaurants and jumped into that. That's been 7 years. And then now to end up with Everbridge and be on this side of the coin is you can see it just so many different avenues, right? So I think for me, looking back at what I've done is everything that I've done has been it's you got to take a risk as an entrepreneur, as somebody that you do want to do something different. I think that's what always holds people back is always the what ifs, right? Is well, what if this happens? Well, what if I fail? Well, what if you succeed? That's always been my thing is one, I my goal is not to fail, right? And if I do, what am I going to learn from it so that going forward I can make those changes and make those adjustments? And that's always been what I've learned. It's been a learning process for 14, 13 years, is making mistakes when you don't know. And honestly, that's all these mistakes and all these avenues have led me to here. And I think that's where I would encourage younger people is don't be afraid to take those chances because the older you get, the harder it is, right? You have more to lose. You have more that you don't want to let go of. So when you're young, you got nothing at that point, right? Those are your times to jump all in. You've been thinking about starting a business, buying a business, whatever it is. You've been wanting to go join a mentorship. You've been wanting to, whatever it may be. You want to go on whatever it is you got to take that jump. And I think that's the biggest thing that I could tell people. I always joke around with my sister-in-law too, because she's kind of like that too. Is always like, well, what if? I'm like, you guys, you got to do it. You don't think about it. The more you think about it, you could think about every problem that could happen. And that's what holds people back. I think if you kind of just turn that switch off a little bit and you go, I'm just going to do it and I'm going to learn from it and I'm going to see what happens and you take that chance on yourself, I think that's where one, not only that you learn, you grow, and then you figure out how to adjust and you continue to move forward. And that's how I ended up inside Subto. As I was working in my restaurants during the day, and then I would go to work at Amazon at night, and I would work from Amazon from 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. And I started listening to podcasts because I said, I don't want to do this. I know that I don't want to work in my restaurant from 8 a.m. till 5 p.m., come home, eat, go to Amazon at 8 p.m. and work till 6 a.m. And so I started listening to podcasts, found Pace, and that's what kind of threw me into this world where I was like, okay, there's something here. I got it. And I just jumped on it. I didn't question it. I didn't have the money to do it. Not saying that I would recommend everybody do that, but I took the chance knowing that I can figure out how to make it happen and how to succeed. And all those steps through there, through sub two, led me to where we're at today. And I think that's the biggest thing is I've always been willing to take a chance, and that's what I would tell younger generations is don't be afraid to take that chance because if you don't, you're always going to wonder what if.
Yeah, life full of regret is not a good one when you're facing the end of your mortality, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. I
very
have a,
much.
I love what you just shared there. Bet on yourself, take the risk. And if you're unhappy, because I feel like pain is a really powerful teacher, right? You were miserable
Very much. Yeah.
and you're like, wow, am I going to do this for the next 30 years? Like, ooh, right? That,
Yeah,
right? And so you're
yeah,
starting searching for answers. And that's why I'm creating this because there's somebody right now driving an Amazon truck in the middle of the night, working a second job or a third job, and they're not seeing their kids. They're not enjoying their life. They're not traveling. They don't have a retirement plan. They're not living a life full of joy. And literally, when I thought, I believe that women over 40 um, feel like it's too late for them and they're just going to work until they die or be a burden to society and, or to their family, right? And
yeah. Yeah.
And I don't want women over 40 or anyone, men and women, and at any age, but especially the older you get, because that's what you said, the older you get, it's harder to take that risk, right? But I
Yeah.
still want those people to do it because
Yeah.
it's never too late to start because we want to just, that's the thing is I have two sayings for life, but I think I read something yesterday that might be my third thing that I'm going to say, but I always say miracles are my normal and everything's always working out for me. That's my life saying.
Yeah.
And then the other one is this isn't your practice life. This is our one shot at our lives, right? Like this is your life. Like you don't want to work three jobs or two jobs. You're working 24 hours a day basically, right? When you're at Amazon
Yeah.
and the pizza place, right? And so what a great thing that you bet on yourself, right? You were resourceful and you probably picked a payment plan with the Pace Morby investment
Yeah.
Subto, which like if people are listening and they're interested in that, we can help you get set up, right? We can connect you with them. But
Yeah.
the thing is that I read something yesterday from at a guy's funeral that was very successful that died young through a series of unfortunate events. But at his funeral that I saw posted yesterday, not I didn't see the whole funeral, but someone I know went, and it said, "Don't let your fears decide your future."
I
And
like that.
I was like, "Oh, I put that on my social media, and I'm gonna maybe adopt that." Because don't I feel like fear is what keeps us back from jumping in, right? Like and it's when you put yourself like you joined the community, you spent the money, you joined Pace's World, right? That community.
Yeah.
And then that's where you start learning. And it's really, I feel like people think it's like, how am I going to do it? But the better question is who? Who am I going to do it with? Right. And you don't meet the who until you get into the community and you start. Like, I remember I went to my first event by myself. I didn't know anyone. I joined Subto and they had posted that about a half hour from my house there was a coffee thing where they'd make calls and do coffee and at some coffee shop about a half hour from my house.
Yeah.
And so I went. I don't know a single soul, right? I'm like my navigation takes me there, and I'm like I find the people. I'm like, oh, are you with Subto? And they're like, yeah. And of course, it's like a little nerve wracking because you don't know anyone, right? And then they're
Yeah.
making calls they're like they're going to call people. They have a list. They say just come. You don't need to have a list. We'll give you calls, right? And so they said, "Who wants to make the first call?" And you know what I did? I
You
raised my
raised your
hand.
hand.
Yeah, I said, "I'll make the first call," right? So someone gave me this girl named Lady gave me a number of somebody that she had been calling, a lead that she had on a
Yeah.
property. And I called and they want you to put on speakerphone, right? And they have some scripts in front of you. And gosh, I've never shared this, but it's really scary. But you know what's amazing? And the guy cussed me out. And so, like, what you can imagine the worst happening, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I kept him on the phone. In fact, Mark Chang videotaped it and sent it to me. I didn't even know he was recording it, but I didn't know him even at the time. But what's so
Right.
funny is the guy ended up asking me out on a date before it was over, right? I kept him on the phone for 11 minutes
Yeah.
and asking him questions and talking to him. And I got at least an appointment to call him back so we could get,
Right.
because I didn't know enough, right? But I got the appointment to follow up with him and talk, for the next phone call. And he's like, "Are you single?" I'm like, "Oh no, I've been married for 36 years." And anyway, but what's so funny is if we just have fun with it, but I have a real estate background, so I'm used to being on the phone with people as a real estate agent,
Right.
right? But I think that we cannot let our fears decide our future, right?
Yeah.
And we cannot, I really believe in being resourceful. Like if you don't have the money to join, I believe you can find the money or figure out a way to finance it. Or I don't think you should wait until you have the money to get in the rooms. I feel like you can go to the free meetups, you can get on the payment plan, do you know what I'm saying? Be resourceful. Don't make excuses.
How bad do you really want it? And that's the thing. And I was actually, that's what I turned over here and looked up because there was a post from John Gordon that I saw the other day. And I love this, but it says, God never wastes our pain. It all serves a purpose. If we use it the right way, we will improve our life and the lives of others. And I think that's just so powerful because, it's pain, pain almost provides purpose. And I think that's just one of those things that people don't like, right? You don't want to be in pain. You want that comfort. And again, this life is also not meant for everybody, and that's okay. Because if it was, we wouldn't have people to work in those environments, right? So I think that a true entrepreneur and people that really want to venture down that path, they understand that concept a little bit more than others. Like my wife and I were talking about that the other days, is just the amount of downs that I've had that I have to crawl out of those, right? Because you're the only person that's going to save you. No one else cares that you're down there.
Yeah, no one's
Uh,
coming.
yeah.
No
So
one's coming.
no, no, not at all.
Yes. And
So
I think that it's so important that I call that self-regulation, right? And
yeah,
we have to learn to regulate ourselves and be self-aware. And they don't teach us all this stuff in school, right? And and almost everything they teach in school is useless, in my opinion. But and I was a school teacher a long, long time ago. But you know what's interesting is that's because they want to keep us as all workers, right? They just want
yeah,
everyone to, they don't want people to be entrepreneurs. And so, and I hope that shifts and changes in the future. But I do think you have to dig yourself out.
yeah,
And you do need, like, I have an accountability partner. I have coaches. I pay for professional coaching too. But
yeah,
I think that solopreneurship is can be difficult, and I'm glad you found partners because that helps a lot too. But
yeah,
nobody's going to make the calls for you. Nobody's going to show up to that coffee shop unless I drove myself there, right? That's how I met the first people in the community, right? I drove out
yeah.
there and made friends and introduced myself. And then when she said, "Who wants to make the first call?" I'm like, "Me." Like, because I know that the tension's going to get worse as each
Yeah.
person's making calls. And then what could happen is then the whole time goes by, I never raised my hand, and then I'm going to beat myself up the whole way home that I didn't
Why
take
didn't I?
action,
Yep.
right?
Yep. Well, and it's all once you get past that first initial too, it's like it gets easier, right? You get used
Hmm.
to it. And that's the thing is kind of going back to the entrepreneur thing is like you get used to getting beat up, a little bit. And then it becomes like normal. And you figure out you're like, I can make it through this. I've been through worse. I understand this now. Like this is nothing. What's next? What's next, right? And that's now what I look at is every step, every position, every pain is a new direction and a new path that gets put in front of me.
Yeah, I love that because what you realize is it's not about you. You get a thicker skin, a different perspective, you reframe what's happening, and you're like, it's just a numbers game, that maybe that person's having a bad day, or this deal didn't work out, or there's a reason this door is closing and that maybe a window's
Yeah.
going to open over here, right? And I love the ability to pivot is so important.
Yeah. 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 And I feel like if you can't as an entrepreneur, you're gonna struggle for a while, right? Because it's not pretty. It's not all a bed of roses, right? You're gonna go through these. You're gonna have to step to get those roses off that bush. You're gonna have to prick yourself a couple times with those thorns. So
Yeah, when I first started in real estate, like 21 years ago, as an agent, going from being a teacher, right? So as a teacher, I'm making about 50,000 a year, and you work all year. I get the summers off, but really, it's a lot. But and then in real estate, you can make, sky's the limit, 20,000 a month, 100,000 a month, 50,000. It's just all up to you, but it's up to your skill set, right? And
yeah,
every mistake, like if I go on a listing appointment and they're interviewing three agents and one's been doing it for 15 years and this is my second listing appointment, right? That's a 20,000, and the other person knows how to get them to sign the contract and connect with them and overcome their objections, and I don't, right? That's a $20,000 mistake right there, right? But you have
yeah,
to go through those learning curves. And then I was like, I remember the first time I didn't, and I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, I called the people back and asked them, can I'm newer at this. Can I ask you why you didn't pick me, right? Why did you sign
yeah,
with the other agent? And so they shared with me, and I'm like, I'm practicing on my clients. I need to
yeah.
practice the crap out. There's only like five objections that people have when you sit down to list their home, right?
Right.
And I'm like, I need to get really good at connecting with people, gaining trust, learn embedded commands, right, from a neuro-linguistic program to get people to sign the contract. So, but I also need to be able to articulate very easily and help them overcome those objections and ask better questions. And
Yeah.
I'm just going to like learn. And so I would just memorize. I had a program that I bought at, it wasn't a cassette tape, it was a CD. But I would listen to it 24 hours a day of this lady saying, this is the number one, and this is another objection. And she would answer it, like a dialogue thing. And I listened
Right.
to that thing almost 24 hours a day. My kids were like, knew it by heart because I had,
Right.
but I just think we have to decide, like when we get the feedback, because really it's feedback in
Yeah.
entrepreneurship. And we don't like to have the light shown on us, but if you don't want to get that feedback and pivot and improve and make it adjustments, then yeah, probably entrepreneurship might not be for you.
No, no. And I think that's another thing too, is like you don't have to be the smartest person, right? I and
Mm.
I always say that about myself. I'm not a genius. I am willing to learn though. I am willing to take on anything that whatever it is and take it on full force and understand it. That's what I laugh at because when Darren and Ryan asked me to come on with them at Everbridge, I was like, "Oh yeah, no problem. I'd love to help underwrite businesses." And I understood them a little bit, but I didn't understand them how I do now. Like I really can grasp them a lot better, not even to Darren's extent, but it was one of those things where I was like, absolutely, I can do that, no problem. And it was instantly like, all right, I gotta search and learn and understand it because I didn't fully grasp it. And I think that's where as an entrepreneur is or people in general when they're wanting to take that jump, it's always like, well, I don't know how to do that. I'm not smart enough for that. Reality is you don't have to be. How hard are you going to work for it? And how hard are you going to try and learn it? And I think that's where you can really step up and jump into that world.
Yeah, how bad do you want it? And are you willing to take the imperfect action? Because
Yep.
and be okay being uncomfortable until
Yeah.
you figure it out. There's a lady, her name's Dr. Becky something. I can't remember. Feel good? I don't think that's her real name, but anyway, she she has the best TED Talk I've ever heard, or one of
Yeah.
them, because she's a parenting expert. She's a psychiatrist or psychologist, I think. But anyway, at Duke University, she's huge. She's on TV all the time, but she's a guest teacher at Duke University sometimes, and they
Yeah.
just I watched some of her guest teaching because she's like, and it was in a business class, but anyway, she's brilliant. And she says, here's what you want to know, and here's what you don't know. Like here's where you are, and here's what you want to learn, something new, right? A skill. And
Yeah.
she calls this the learning gap, right? Or I don't know, the learning gap. I have to watch it again, but she says in between here is up and down, right? You got to dig yourself up. It's all up and down, up and down, up and down. And she says that to get good at something, you have to get really good being frustrated and
Yeah.
have a high tolerance for frustration. And
Yeah.
she said that's like being resilient, right? That's being resilient is having that. And then once you get over to learning it and mastering it, and then it's great. But most people don't like the feeling of being frustrated, and so they give up.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Hmm.
I think that's where your most successful people can get past that. They can understand that every bit of pain has its purpose to move to that next thing. So again, that's just one of the most powerful things that I think people can really understand and move on, right?
Yeah. Oh, her name's John found it for me. Her name's Becky Kennedy. Her TED Talk, John just found it for me. That was so nice. The single most important parenting strategy by Becky Kennedy. Yeah, and I think her Facebook is called, or Instagram is Becky Feelgood, but I'm not sure. But yeah, Becky Kennedy. Yeah, if you're a parent or a
I'll have to
grandparent,
look her up.
because I'm a grandparent, but I don't even think it's the best parenting. I think it's the best people because I use it in my real life. Because she talks about it, it doesn't matter that you say something bad or awful to somebody or do something wrong. It's how quickly do you make the repair,
Yeah. Yep.
and it's that repair that is so important, right? And so, because I want to be, one of my goals in life is to be the best grandma ever.
I
And
love it.
yeah, so it's like I did her whole course,
Yeah.
and it's like what's her thing called? Yeah, let's see. Oh, Good Inside. Dr. Becky Kennedy at Good Inside. Yeah, Good
Becky
Inside.
Kennedy.
Becky Kennedy at Good Inside. Anyway, I'm in love with her. I don't know her, but man, she is mind blowing the stuff she does. I feel like she's one of those thought leaders that is just like, well, such a blessing to all of us that, can learn from her because
There's so many great people out there I that you can learn from. And that was another transition too that I think I man, probably, I don't know, 3 years ago. It was like I almost shut off everything that wasn't positive, that I wasn't learning. So it's like my feed is literally filled with people that are going to fill my cup for me to understand and grow, right? So that's where a lot of people too is the world itself is already giving you all the negative. Why do you need to bring it into your life and let it attach? So like you
Judah,
said
that
earlier,
cut them
get
out.
yeah,
If
yeah,
if there's a feed in your feed, because you train your social media feed what to feed you, what to
yeah,
bring, the algorithm brings you what you want. So if you're consuming negative stuff and negative things, it just feeds more of that for you. And yes, you can unfollow people, unsubscribe, whatever it is. It's so important. And I have quit picking up my daughter calls every morning very early because she's on a further different time zone while she's taking the kids to school, so we get to talk to
yeah,
them, which is so fun. But it used to be a habit of mine, but to check Facebook and social media right after that. And now I set my phone back down because why do I want to invite 1,000 people into my bedroom in the morning? Like,
yeah.
and so I'm controlling, then I go straight into my prayers, right? And what do I appreciate and my meditation. And then I get up and I've been working out and going, doing those things before I scroll on the scroll, right? Like, because
Yeah.
you could burn an hour or two on that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you got to have that morning gratitude because otherwise you can wake up every single day and choose something to be pissed off about. And if that's really what you want to do, the reality is I think a lot of people misinterpret what their life is really like, right? Is
Hmm.
it to them they feel like it's bad, but they're really not looking at the overall picture. Do they have a house? Do they have a car? Do they have a job? Do they have food? I mean, there's so many things every single day. You don't have to be the wealthiest person on the world to be happy.
And
And I think
there's
a lot
no
of people miss that.
correlation. Yeah, yeah. And what we focus on, all the research. I'm interviewing a brain doctor later today. I've had him on before. He's my most watched episode besides Pace. Pace now surpassed him, but he's a brain doctor, and
Yeah.
he's really mind blowing, right? And because we all have a brain, right? And then our brain and our mind is what determines our happiness because what we tell ourselves is what we believe. So we have to question our thoughts, and we need to treat our brain. It's the most important organ probably in our body, right? And a
Hmm.
lot of us don't treat it like that. But the story we tell ourselves is what we believe and manifest. It's so important.
Yep.
And
Yep.
we control that.
Yeah. 100%. Yep. I have that conversation. We have about 38 staff members, and I've got a couple of my leaders that are up there, and I'll have them read books, either based on their personalities or, what they're struggling with in life or whatever it may be, to get them to think differently and understand because you literally can. If that's your thought process every single day, more than likely that's how your life is gonna end up leading day by day.
For sure. In
So,
fact, that's one of the questions I ask a lot of my guests. What book have you read that's impacted your life that you would recommend for others to read? Is there a book you've loved that has impacted
oh
you?
man. So I'm bad about reading because my time is so filled with work.
Hmm.
So I'll do a lot of podcast
Hmm.
or audiobooks.
Yeah.
Um, but Dan Martell has a great one. I don't know if you've read that one yet. Buy Back Your
Buy Back
Time.
Your Time. I haven't read it
Yeah.
yet, but I want to. I hear it's awesome.
It's great. It just helps you understand, how valuable. is the time that you have to you, right? And are
Mm-hmm.
you willing to pay for that to get it back? And I think that's where a lot of people, as you get to a point where, I was so stretched thin in so many different portions of my life, many times. Um, and you got to decide where can you, one, feed off some of your work that you are doing to someone else and trust them, right? 80%, it getting 80 done at 80% of 100% of how you would do it is worth how 500% basically of your time.
Mm.
So that's a big thing. I love John Gordon, um John Maxwell. Those are two probably my favorite. I've listened to a lot of their books on leadership, teams, um entrepreneurship, growing. I'm actually listening to John Gordon's what's the bus one?
Oh, I
The
know what you're talking about.
energy bus or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so he's probably one of my favorites, him and
Me
him
too.
John Maxwell. So
Yeah, they're good. They're both
yeah.
awesome. I think they really make you see things differently.
Yeah. Yeah. 5 a.m. book the what is it? The 5 a.m. Do I have it up here? I might have given it to someone. It's called the 5 a.m. Oh yeah, here it is. The 5 a.m. Club. That's another great one.
Okay, I
Um,
haven't read that one either, so I'll have to
yeah,
read it.
it's more so about, the importance of starting your day off with the gratitude, with taking care of your body, putting it into different situations where you understand what you have is actually, yeah, pretty comfortable, right? And helping
Hmm.
you just take a bigger picture and more of the gratitude side of things. And more so too, like teaching you how important getting up at 5 a.m. How much more can you accomplish by getting your body out of bed and starting that day early. Like I laugh because Pace, I mean, him. He's
He's up
3
early.
a.m., 3:30, right? 4 a.m., somewhere in
4
that
a.m.
range.
The other
Yeah,
day, I posted in the middle of the night because I'm posting more because I'm doing a lot more. I'm doing like 6 of these videos a week and I'm posting a lot more. And
yeah.
what's interesting is I was posting something. I posted just this thought that I had, and Pace made a comment and liked it. It was like 2 in the morning. I was up, for some reason, and I couldn't get back to sleep. And
He
I'm
was
like,
already waking up.
he was up because he's on Arizona time, so it's an hour later from him, right? So it's probably
Yeah.
2:30 my time, 3:30 his time. I'm like, one, Pace Morby was commenting and liking my social media posts, which I was like, oh my gosh.
Uh,
I love him because I'm friends with him. And I consider him my friend. He corrected me one time when I said, I saw him in Florida at a different event and
yeah.
he was going down the escalator and I was going up. And I said, oh, I just love your community. I'm so glad that I'm here. Because, I wouldn't have been at that event if it wasn't for him. And,
Right.
because I wouldn't have known about it. Right. And you know what he said? Colleen, it's our community. Don't ever say that again. I'm like, oh, yeah, our community. That's right.
Yeah.
And I love
That's one
that.
thing I always appreciate about him is he's very like he'll like I can text him and he'll always answer me without question.
Mhm.
If there's something that like I have a concern or hey, I have an idea or hey, what do you think about this? Or he'll always respond. May not always be the answer I want, but he'll always respond. So he
Yes.
takes so much time out of his day, and I think that's just such you don't get that from a lot of people that are to that high level, right? So I think it's
It's
really
such a
cool to see.
blessing. After I interviewed him, at his office for my YouTube channel. And after we're over, he goes, do you have a really cool intro that you use on your YouTube channel? I said, I don't. He goes, oh, we're going to make one right now. And
Uh,
he's like, everyone, this was the best interview ever. To, you should listen to this channel. I mean, he did a whole advertisement for my channel,
I
right.
saw it. I saw it. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, I'm so glad. Anyway, I have a question. This is the last question I love to ask people.
Absolutely.
My show is called Born to Be Brave, right?
Yeah.
And I was just wondering, when have you been brave in your life? And can you share that with our audience?
Yeah. Um, I think it goes back to that first step when it was I had always worked for someone, right? Been in different industries, And I think it was that first initial thing on the very first business that I opened. My brother wanted to open a business, and it was one of those things where it was just something switched in me, and I'm very like, if I think of something, I'll do it. And I've always, and it's gotten worse as I've gotten older. It's like I won't even think twice, and maybe that's sometimes my downfall is if I feel something, I do it, and I feel like that's because God's put that in me. But that was that time where I felt like it was that moment for me to go entrepreneur route. Was that was my moment where I was like, okay, this is it. And to me, I guess looking back at that, that's what I would consider brave at that point, because I didn't do it smart. I didn't ask my wife. I surprised her with that.
Ooh, yeah.
So, but we've bounced back through that, and we're going on, man, what are we, 12 or 13 years together now at this point. So she's been through this journey with me, but that was the bravest point, I think, was making that switch, working in oil field, making really good money, right? And I had the opportunity to grow and climb in that business. And it was one of those things, I just wasn't, there was something in me that wasn't happy. And I knew the only way out was just to jump. I didn't think about it. And I just put in my 2 weeks and started that business with my brother. And that's kind of what started this journey. And now I look back at that. Had I not done that,
Mhm.
we wouldn't be here, right?
Yeah, we
So
wouldn't be talking.
yeah. So,
Yeah.
and to answer your question earlier, I just turned 37. So
Happy birthday. Happy late
thank you.
birthday. Yeah.
Thank you.
So we're exactly because I'm 57. Am I 57? Yeah. Like,
You were born in 67.
yeah, yeah. Okay. I think I'm gonna be 58 this year, right? Yeah. It's exciting. I think your 30s are and in the 40s are like your, especially your late 30s and your early 40s. I think every year is awesome. Okay. It's every year is my favorite year. But
Yeah.
I feel like by the time you get to your late 30s, you're so much more secure in who you are and certain in what you want. And you're it's just, I don't know. I feel like it's steadier ground as a human for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Very, very much so. Like I think back about my even my 20s and where I'm at now. Is like I look at how many changes I've made. And that's another thing, like younger people to understand is it's okay to think that this is what you want to do, right?
Yeah.
Whatever it is. And then
Yes.
you change and you adjust and you change and you adjust. And I mean, I've to now be at this point in a world lending on businesses rather than now owning businesses. I never would have thought I would have been here, and I think that's just one of those things where, like you said, your 20s is that time to figure yourself out, figure out where you belong. You're gonna make mistakes. You're gonna do things you didn't like. That's when I got into Subto, I thought wholesaling, right? Oh man, you can make all this money. This is gonna be great. I hated it. I hated it. I think I did like one or two deals and was like, nope, I'm good. But built a lot of relationships inside there, and then got into subtoing cars, and then got on Turo and had what did I have, 7 cars at one point, and a couple of them I had subtoed. And actually I did a interview with Pace when I subtoed it was like my second or third car, but it was my Ford Bronco. And I shot him a picture and was like, look what I just did, and he's like, dude, I've always wanted one of those. So we ended up doing an interview on that. But again, it was one of those things, like I didn't have a path when I joined Sub 2. I just knew that I wanted to be in it. I didn't know why, felt the calling, and every step, every change has been adjusted and to this point. So, like you said, it's those first, 20 to 30 years old, even 35, it's okay to make those changes and adjustments and reactions. Every action you have to or every action is going to cause a reaction, right? And then you've got to act to that reaction as well. So that's where you change and you grow and you learn and adapt.
Yeah, I love that. And you're not a tree. You can move.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
Right?
And it's okay to change. And that's, I have a buddy. He's one of my best friends, but he always gives me crap. He's like, "You're always doing something different, always changing things." And I'm like, that's because I haven't found my thing yet. I mean, we've had our restaurants for 7 years and those are my things, but I haven't found that one thing yet. And now it's like being here with Everbridge and my team now is like this feels like home at this point. So it's been cool to just watch the journey and it's been interesting, that's for sure. So
Well, I love that. I'm so glad that you would just be brave and jump on this show with me. And I'm so glad to get to know you a little bit better. And where
yeah,
it looks like people can find you on the thing right there, right?
yeah,
What's
yep.
what's the
So
best way?
well, is it this? It's this
Yeah,
way
that
right here.
way.
So
Mhm.
yeah, so our website is just everbridgecapital.com. People can go there. They can see exactly what we do. We'll talk a little bit about our bridge loans and co-lending and what that looks like. They can meet the rest of the team, find out a little bit about us. My email's attached in here as well, which is just judah@everbridgecapital.com if somebody's interested in business acquisitions or just wants to chat. I've got a Calendly link as well, but obviously Facebook and Instagram are the easiest way to reach out to me. Instagram's probably the best route, but you found me on Facebook, so either way, it doesn't matter.
And we ended up here.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
worked.
So,
That's what I love about, I didn't used to be good at technology and I'm getting better and better at it. And I'm like,
yeah,
I love the accessibility to people. Like I just felt called to reach out to you, right? Because
yeah,
Kevin, I could be Kevin's mom. I'm kind of like his California mom.
yeah.
And I'm like, we were just talking and I'm like, oh, I want to talk to him. I'm like, what was his name again?
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah. And I think you had mentioned too, Pace was like, hey, you need to reach out to Judah and do an
Mm-hmm.
interview as well. So, I mean, it's again, I think it's more so just the more you put yourself out there, just like what you're doing, right? Is I've seen your name multiple
Mm-hmm.
times and just never, and here we are now. I've been in Subto for 3 years and we're now finally getting a chance to meet together and do this together. So,
Yeah, it's exciting. We just keep moving forward because I haven't found my thing yet. I don't know, like you know what I'm saying? Like I haven't found it, but I know I'm going to, if that makes
yeah.
sense.
Yeah, you will. Like you said, it's you're never too old to find that thing, right? I think
Mm-mm.
it's people get nervous about taking those chances, but the reality is it's never going to change. There's never a bad time and there's never the perfect time to do it either.
Yeah, it's time. It's just the time's now. And if we wake up tomorrow, do it again tomorrow. So
Yeah. Yeah.
anyway, you are so kind to come on here. I'm so glad to meet you. And are you going to be at Squad Up?
Of course. Yeah. We will. We're actually Darren's going, myself and Ryan. So we will all be there and we're excited to chat on businesses and co-lending and anything in that world. So
Well, good. I can't wait to meet you in person and give you a hug. I'm a big hugger. And
you and I are going to get along then.
yeah, yeah, I'm big on hugs. One of my goals, scatter sunshine everywhere I go.
I love it.
Anyway, I'll see you later. Thank you so much.
Okay.
I'll let you know when this video comes out, and I want our audience members to know you were born to be brave. I believe in you, and I hope that you will step into your superpowers and start taking imperfect action. Anyway, thanks for joining us today.
Absolutely. Colleen, it was awesome. I appreciate you so much.
No problem. It was awesome.